You're gonna have to fill me in on everything.
It's kind of been a shitty week all around. Can I tell a quick story though?
Yeah, please do.
So I was driving by my house, and I was at this kind of weird intersection on 50th Street, where kind of like you can turn on to go to Aurora. And this dude in this large white pickup truck just T-bones my car.
What the fuck?
Yeah, but he wasn't going very fast. He was just going through a stop sign. So like it just like felt like my car got like pushed really hard, but like it wasn't like a violent like crash or anything like that. So I'm like, Jesus Christ, I didn't see that one coming. And so but my car still runs fine because the Jeep or the truck was so high up that it just missed the wheels and everything. It just hit the side. And so I'm like, whoa, okay. So I drive over and park in the Woodland Park Zoo, and I'm kind of like signaling to the guy, like, yeah, follow me, and we'll like figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
And it was obviously an accident, but as the guy parks, it's this giant white truck, and the bumper is literally made of cast iron.
What?
Yeah, and on the bumper it says Iron Cross.
Oh, whoa.
And I'm like, I see this, and I'm looking back, and I'm like, oh fuck! Like, did a Nazi just hit me? Like, is this what I'm going to have to deal with in the middle of my Monday? And I'm like, all right, I'm like, just smile, get through it, get his insurance, and then go home. Right? Luckily, no one's injured. It looked fine. His bumper light's like barely scratched. Yet the side of my car looks like a giant punched it. And so I'm kind of like, all right, who's going to get out of this car? And just a short, friendly Mexican dude comes out of the car. So I guess the lesson of that is, we have more in common than we have in different in this country.
I guess so.
Yeah,
that's a giant Iron Cross.
Don't judge a book by its cover, right?
Yeah.
I don't think he understood maybe all the implications of what Iron Cross had. But
it means something to him.
Yeah.
You know?
It was just a big truck. He just liked his truck, so...
Wow. Well, okay, so,
yeah, that's awful. Sorry to hear that you got hit.
Yeah.
Obviously, first of all.
Yeah, seriously, I'm glad you're okay. Now, nothing I say that follows should be construed as legal advice, since I am not certified or qualified to give any. But you should absolutely get a lawyer to represent you with that man's insurance company so that you can collect the largest amount possible, because they'll always try and like fob you off with nothing.
But then I have to pay for the lawyer, though.
Well, like, that's a consideration. I've had very good luck. Yeah, they'll take a third of the settlement, but
of your car crash lottery winnings.
Yeah. But hey, man, I've done very well, and I can say.
Can I get Michael Cohen or somebody to represent me?
I know someone locally who does this kind of work. His name is Matthew D. Dubin.
Oh,
I think his office is not far away.
That name sounds so familiar.
I should call him up.
He has years of experience representing regular working people against big insurance companies, and that's, I think, you should give him a call.
Yeah, I think I will. Thank you, Greg. That's a great. I'll tell him that.
Oh, Opa!
Hey! Welcome to Seattle Sucks, everyone. It's definitely a party atmosphere here. We're pouring the champagne because it's a beautiful day, and we're on episode number 7.
Lucky number 7.
7 deep, guys.
Yeah. That doesn't make any sense, but gotta drink something, and champagne is what we had.
Mostly had a bottle of champagne in my fridge for the last couple months that I needed to pop open. I figured, what better of an occasion than friends, or in this case, friend, Greg.
Yeah. Well, all those jobs out there got some relief. We can all celebrate that. They won't be taxed.
That's another thing to celebrate.
Yeah,
to the repeal.
To jobs.
To jobs. Oh, speak it, man.
Happy Pride, everybody.
Happy Pride.
Happy Pride Week. We're recording this episode on, what is it, like Pride Day, or what is it?
At least in Seattle.
The Pride Parade. The day of the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Which is awesome, because it's the only time that people in Seattle actually know how to dress for the summer. You know? Like, people are wearing shorts, wearing their skimpy outfits, whereas usually it's just a bunch of people dressed like it's fall. That's like the closest we get to, like, appropriate summer wear.
I feel like you're calling me out right now.
Yeah, Colin's wardrobe does not change throughout the year, and I think that is actually very common around here.
Yeah, it's because we don't have too much sunshine. It's like, why buy a whole wardrobe for literally like a month out of the year?
Because we don't have that much sunshine, I can't take the heat. So I have to dress differently. I abhor wearing shorts and looking like an idiot school child.
Yeah, thank you for saying it, because I abhor it too.
But I do. I regularly
do. You don't have to wear the stockings. You realize it's acceptable to not wear the stockings.
And the giant lollipop is really too much.
Greg's summer outfit is literally a sailor outfit, a giant lollipop.
Hey man, I live on a boat.
I
can dress as a sailor if I want.
Do it, man. Bring it back.
Yeah.
That was a thing for a long time.
Yeah.
You dress your children up like they're in the Navy or something. I don't know.
It is summer in Seattle, and we do actually have like the best summer weather.
Oh, it's amazing. It's like, usually under 80, and there's a little breeze going through the air. I grew up in California, where it's just like your summer is stark, 0 clouds, 0 wind, no breeze.
Yeah, that's rough.
Oh, it's horrifying.
Hell.
I lived in the San Fernando Valley for like almost 5 years, and it would get in this shitty apartment with one little like wall AC unit, that the outside, the like radiator outside part of was like in direct sunlight all day. So it worked a little, but that was it for the whole apartment. It would get up to like in August, it would be 115 degrees in the valley, and it would get down to all of like 90 at night.
Oh my God.
I don't know how I don't, yeah. And yeah, the sun, you can't get away from the fucking sun.
It's punishing. Everything's like 1,000 degrees. Your car is 1,000 degrees. The ground, like if you take your sandals off, you're like, oh, Jesus, made a huge mistake. So we have it nice up here, especially in the summertime.
If you're listening from out of state for some bizarre reason, the reputation of Seattle is that it is like one of the rainiest cities in America. And I think people have if you watch any like TV that's set here, like on The Killing, whatever, I forget what network that is. Like it's like serious movie rain, like coming down in torrential like downpours.
It's like Road to Perdition style, like noir.
Yeah, and it just basically rains on and off constantly every day, like in little dribbles for like 7-8 months of the year here, and so it's well deserved. Like it is raining, but the summer is like is really, really one of the better summers in America. It's
primo, and especially because of global warming, it's getting nicer and nicer. So
I don't know. Any hotter, and I'm start to get against it. If it
extended summer, that might be an improvement. But if it just gets hotter for the same period,
of time. We've had some hot weeks already this year, which is early. So this is an early summer. Usually summer, like you can only guarantee like a Seattle summer to start by like July 4th. And then it continues on into like early September. But this year we've already had some like 90-degree days, and so I'm not looking for. August, like
that could be like in the hundreds.
We could.
And the forest fires. It's just so much to look forward to. But because it is Pride, we are broadcasting in our just wearing thongs only.
Yeah.
So here in the purple thong, I'm Alex. In the red thong is Greg.
Here I am.
And in the blue thong,
the blue winter Arctic thong
is Colin. Everybody,
that's me.
So yeah, what do we have to talk about today? What's on the docket? I think. Colin
and I talked about, last week about the big. Finally, the whole head tax thing made national news when everyone thought there was a real story in laughing at the Seattle City Council for being such fucking morons and repealing something by 7 votes that a week earlier they had passed by 9 unanimously. And the narrative that we all knew here, that Amazon had basically bought the political process, was then finally so clear that you could put it in a national headline. But so we talked a little bit about that, and but I still haven't really heard your thoughts about it, Alex.
Nothing new to add. I think it's pretty absurd all around. Whether you're a Democrat or a Republican, you can definitely sort of laugh at what happened. What's going to be interesting, though, is we have an election coming up, or at least this fall, and 7 of the council members are up for re-election. And
awesome.
And talking to inside sources, it sounds like they're pretty much all going to have to really fight for this one.
Can't imagine why.
Well, if they didn't, they were kind of milquetoast before, a lot of them, but now, like, they really look, no matter who you are, they look like fucking morons.
Yeah, well, apparently a couple of them, probably Bagshaw and Hamil, might just call it quits and retire rather than go through a painful re-election. Also, it would make sense that Bagshaw was leaving because she's just been so wild lately with her with her photocopier chiding and rule following.
All of her like office grievances that have just been building up all these years. She's just like, fuck it, I'm coming out loud and proud now. I'm putting everything on the table. Sorry. Yeah. So.
And then to add to the fuel on the fire, I guess, is this lawsuit over the vote that they had, which apparently, as council members, aren't allowed to sort of collude together for a vote.
Right.
Before
this
the vote.
Right. So supposedly they didn't follow the proper procedures of it's open government rules and then notification ahead of time of the vote, and that I guess that's somewhat subjective in this case, but there's a case to be made and someone's making it. But I'm really skeptical of the sort of efficacy of sunshine laws like this. Like it's sort of a fantasy, like a weird like fantasy to think that you can improve something about the political process by like mandating all discussion between legislators happen in public. It's totally impractical. It's utterly unenforceable. And it's not really, it's this very technocratic solution to like, it's, this stuff, it's this thinking that comes out of the 70s, like the post-Watergate era, and like, and it's this very technocratic liberal like idea that if you just have all these like rules in place, that'll make government better. But
the funny thing is in this particular case, it is against the law for them to do that, or against the rules. Let's put it that way, at least. And it's fine if Durkin does it. If she's the conduit for everything, that's totally legal. Okay. Because she's not part of the council. So it only affects council members doing this. She can't tell other council members, but if she's the only conduit of everything, then that's fine. That's not really a big deal, I guess.
Okay.
But it is against the rules, and yeah, they probably did break him in this case. So the lawsuit has been filed by none other than Lincoln Beauregard.
Okay.
Who, you guys remember him? He defended, or I guess he actually stopped. What did he do? He wasn't defending.
He was suing.
Yeah.
He was he was representing some of. See, I've been out of this.
Yeah, I don't recall either. Exactly.
Of the people, of the men who were accusing former Seattle Mayor Ed Murray of child rape in the 80s. Ed Murray is gone now, having resigned, and it seems, presumably there's going to be more to this story over the years of like if he's
Okay, well, all that aside, Lincoln Beauregard is the lawyer who is representing or who's bringing this case forward.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and he's no stranger to the press. He likes to publicize things, and the council is a little bit worried because if the lawsuit goes ahead, then he can depose every council member because they're all, I guess, all in on it together. And the depositions would be done 3 months before the election. So it would be perfect timing for just, crazy headlines. I mean, who knows?
And he'd be able to publish. He'd be able to publish the depositions.
Yes.
Okay.
Alex, I don't know if you know this, but it's called compromat.
I am familiar with that. And so it's just kind of a crazy time for the city. And
well, good Lord. I mean, talk about cutting off your nose to spite your face almost. Like, what a farce. To repeal legislation that you passed unanimously and then to do it by violating some, as Greg said, just ridiculous sort of procedural issue and then potentially face deposition.
Yeah, I mean, like,
all of this.
So
it's like an Arrested Development episode or something. I mean,
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's or like
it defies reality almost.
Like a really like small time and banal, the thick of it or something. You know?
Yeah.
But so if this lawsuit, I mean, again, I haven't been following this. Would this invalidate the actual repeal vote then?
That's what I read, and that's what we reported last
that's right.
episode.
We did say that. Okay.
Yeah, if a judge or a jury decided that they were guilty, then it would.
Presumably, they could then just turn around and repeal it and just go through the fucking motions.
Right. It doesn't have any major consequences beyond just it being a headline that people can turn into whatever.
Well, I mean, there's the small chance that them being made a laughing stock in the national press for a day, even if it was just a day, like changes the calculus for them if they have to come back and repeal it again. But probably
I think people would not care at that point.
Maybe it'll only go down by 6 votes or something.
Yeah, somebody might flip. That would potentially be wise, but it's probably worth mentioning again that because of this procedural issue, the No Tax on Jobs referendum did have to turn in those signatures 2 weeks ago.
Right,
now,
they're covering
I guess
their
it was.
ass, right?
So it's also possible in some weird world that we may inhabit that it could actually end up being on the ballot.
Like after all this bullshit, the council stays out, decides, well, fuck it, we'll stay out of it.
This is perfect, right? Because what's going to happen is it'll make the ballot, the voters will turn it down, and then the council will have to re-vote on it. And then, of course, they'll kill it, right? So it'll be like a complete, it'll be truly an amazing moment in Seattle politics.
Yeah, we'll need a Schoolhouse Rock of
just to explain how did we get here?
This has always been my stated hope and wish, is that we would have this insane, bitter, bizarre fight over this referendum, and I doubt that's going to happen.
Yeah.
A lot of shit would have to go down for this to actually matter, but oh man, it would be so good.
I think you're right on that. It's a minuscule possibility, but it is a possibility.
Totally. So yeah, there's going to be quite a fight coming up in the re-election, and another kind of interesting, I guess, development or something like that.
Well, let me ask out, like, you're saying these 7 who are up for re-election, some of them might not run, or the others are. There's a feeling like a lot of them are going to have to fight for it, and I'm like, well, why do you think that? Or why are the people you're talking to? Why do they think that?
Right. So one thing in particular that'll make the election interesting is the new voucher system that we have enacted, and I don't know if any other cities or major cities have done this. But it's definitely unique, right? Where every Seattleite gets 4 democracy vouchers. I can't remember exactly how much each one's worth.
They're like $25.
$25 each.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used mine in the last election.
Yep. And so what happens is if any candidate or anyone who declares that they're running can get 150 $10 donations, then they are eligible to receive the vouchers, which are worth up to $200,000.
Wow.
So basically, because of the voucher system, you're going to see a lower bar to entry for this election. And if this backlash against the council, sort of the wave continues to build, then you're going to have a lot of people coming out of the woodwork to specifically against the council.
Yeah.
And the feeling is probably not from the liberal side, but maybe, who knows, right? And then on top of that, you're going to have the corporate candidates coming out again.
Yeah.
I'm sure the chamber is lining up, their next round of, whatever losers that couldn't win an election in any other year. All of a sudden now, because, the conversation has changed, all of a sudden have a chance in hell of winning.
I hope so, because
all going to come out. And that's going to be...
Those
right?
types of people, those guys like the chamber type candidates, like a bunch of like low rent Dino Rossi's, like to just
that's saying a lot.
I mean,
Yeah.
oh god, it'd be so. Oh yeah, this is gonna be fun either way. I mean,
It'll be exciting. It'll be like just endless. I hope you like chatter about politics. That's what it's going to be for sure. So that's exciting.
Yeah,
That's something
wow.
to look forward to.
So one question, pardon my ignorance on this, and hopefully one of you two knows the answer, but the vouchers can be used by the candidates to do what?
so it gives them money. So
So
you get 4.
Yeah.
So if they get a voucher back from you,
they can
they
convert
just
that to
get that
cash.
money. Yeah, they get that
use it
$25. That's just
during
goes
their
to
campaign.
their
Okay.
campaign fund.
Yeah, that was my understanding. I just wanted to clarify, I guess.
Yeah, and I think it is really confusing, actually, unless someone sort of like explains it to you. Getting something in the mail and then sitting down and going through it isn't usually what most people want to do at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So these vouchers kind of just sit on people's countertops, but they actually are like $200,000 is plenty of money to run a small campaign.
Yeah.
You can get a lot done with $200K. Now, granted, with a lot of contenders, that money is going to get split up a lot, so it may not end up making much of a difference. But
like you
who
say, I
knows?
think it opens up the field, which I don't want to say that's like some kind of panacea, but I think overall that's probably public funding of elections. I'm all for. That's what this is. This is actually like a real public election funding idea that has been implemented. We've done one election with it so far, and I think it's great. And if the effect of that is that it slightly weakens like established party power and opens up the field for more people, that's overall pretty great. In practice, it'll probably, because just this world in this city sucks, it'll probably be a wash. It'll probably just be as good for like insane libertarian shitheads as anyone else, but who knows? I don't know. I mean, overall I'm for it. Like, yeah, I'm all good. I gave my vouchers to John Grant last time around. So it sounds like some of these people are going to have a tough time, but like I think you were saying earlier, Alex, before we started, that people you talked to had an analysis about Sawant in particular, maybe having a different calculus this time around, like a harder road to re-election.
I was wondering about Sawant because it seems like she has this like strong base that's sort of outside of the establishment that kind of she can count on to carry her through maybe a harder election than usual. But the thought is that because of her backing of John Grant and not Mosqueda, that she alienated a lot of labor and labor-backed candidates. Okay. And that might weaken her chances. And I also think that more than anything, it's going to be an issue of, are more older conservative people going to come out and vote because of this whole head tax fiasco? And will younger people just sort of get tired of the bullshit like they usually do, not come out and vote, and that wave is just going to roll her over?
Yeah, we talked about that earlier, like this idea that she alienated labor, but like, and I didn't think so, and I kind of tried to look this up, and it seems like she never really got much of an endorsement from organized labor anyway in her previous elections, which makes sense. I mean, they're not, the organized labor leadership does not think of itself as socialist, and they tend to be basically democratic now, which is to say like want to compromise with business. So it's hard to imagine that actually like changes anything for her, because And yeah, from the beginning, she's run against establishment. I mean, she runs as a red. Like, that's like, people thought that was crazy when, when she ran the first time, like that couldn't play. But I mean, I think that has been shown to be bullshit.
Well, but she also has, like, the Seattle Times is constantly, talking shit about her, and they can't stop. Like, the whole, she was getting complaints against her, ethics complaints for the whole, for
the copy machine usage was
among
one.
other things.
Unbelievably, the copy machine usage, but also going after that one slumlord asshole, right? He sued her for defamation, and the city paid to defend her, as it should. She's an elected official and therefore a target to lawsuits. So I am not anti that, but the Seattle Times, holy shit, folks. Don't tell the Times that she should be, she should be paying every penny of her defense.
Oh yeah,
and they have been running that line constantly. And then in each of these complaints have gone to the commission, and they've determined that these are groundless, basically. And none of that gets publicized at all.
Right.
So pretty much the popular conscience, I think, as it exists in Seattle, is out there that this is just some big government wasteful, candidate. And I think that you should never underestimate that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it might not have an effect at all, but I mean, the perfect storm of events could, lead it one way or another, especially if, you are lacking in endorsements. You might see, I don't know, some other candidate who's just like you get endorsed over you because they don't have ethics complaints or something ridiculous.
The endorsements ultimately, I think, in a race like this are about like what those do to get their people out for like boots on the ground, like actually knocking on doors. But like my like political calculus on Sawant remains the same, which is that like her main strength is that she remains like a uniquely consistent politician. Whatever the case, she always sticks to basically what you would imagine. You don't have to like guess like you do with any Democrat who's like, you could come out and say anything about any issue. Well, we looked at the facts, and in this case, because of these arcane, technical issues and strategy, but no, she sticks with exactly what you would think she would on basically everything. I think that gives her a strength, and I also think it's the right strategy, even if she loses. So I'll stick to that like today, and even if standing up against Amazon and calling for the heads of business and whatever else like David Horsey puts in fucking cartoons, even if she loses, I say that's still the right strategy, because you have to think longer term than this. But
But it fits into a larger sort of weird conception, though, because you have, what's his name? Bezerau writing columns for Seattle Times talking about, my parents survived Stalinism.
Yeah.
And that being equated with her. And I think, it's obviously totally ridiculous, right? But maybe call it the Howard Dean effect. But, like, I think that people are actually afraid of, like, once people a large scale, it gets largely publicized how quote unquote extreme you are, even if you're not, then you're basically fighting uphill.
Yeah, but it hasn't hurt her to now. And again, I think that's this liberal conception of how politics works.
But that's what happened to Howard Dean, though.
No, that's what happened to
fine.
Barack Obama. Okay, they called him a communist, a Muslim communist foreigner for 8 fucking years, and it's like, you can't go any farther than that. So like, why not just stick to your principles? They're gonna do this shit anyway. That's what's so funny about her being called like this radical Stalinist, is like, you can't. She might as well be what she is and stick to her principles, because they'd be doing that anyway. Even if they call, dude, I have heard I have heard people refer to Mike O'Brien as a communist at work, okay? Yeah, so, like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like, you might as well stick to your fucking principles, because if you just, like, anything that acknowledges the essential fucking conflict of interest between billionaires and everyone else is going to be, like, thought of as communist. That's a fucking serious thing. So like, it doesn't fucking matter. You might as well.
Well, I agree that it doesn't matter. Like, I don't think she should change her tune or anything or be less of a candidate that she already is, but I think that I don't think it's necessarily taken for granted that that's going to carry her
I agree.
Especially because like we all know Seattle isn't a liberal utopia. You know, we like to do some liberal things every now and then. We definitely love token liberalism. My God,
we're all Randians now.
Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, yeah, Seattle. You can't rely on a liberal base supporting you purely on that.
Yeah, well, I mean, to your point about like the old conservative people, like how much they come out and vote. I think it's the same thing in the city and nationally. They always vote, they always will, but these real hard Republicans, the worst people in America, are really only about actually 25% of America. Mm-hmm. It's just that nobody fucking votes. So whether this will work or not, I don't know. But if you can be something so different, like Shama Sawant, something that actually gets people who otherwise wouldn't vote out to vote, then that's the only way forward. Whether it works in this particular election or not, I don't know. Works enough, but that's the path forward. Is being something so fucking out of the box that another 50% of America and Seattle who don't fucking vote actually comes out.
Yeah, I agree. And the only downside to her is that she's limited, right, by her constituency. Right? I think given a wider constituency, she wouldn't have a problem because there are enough liberal people in Seattle to carry her through. But limited to her district, who knows? I don't know. Also because it's summertime is a special time in Seattle because all the UW students leave, which is nice. You can walk down the Ave and it's just a little bit more casual and carefree, and everyone's just a little bit happier because there aren't hordes of
co-eds.
What are you doing walking down the Ave
parking
anyway?
their Mercedes Benzes in handicap parking spots or whatever. But not so much anymore because it's my favorite part of the season. Amazon intern season, folks.
Oh, God.
So just when they thought you could take a breather in the U District, they're bringing in about 900 to 1,000 interns. Have fun navigating that. They also have to the infrastructure cost is crazy. They have to dedicate new bus lines. Let's put it that way.
Cool. I mean, that just says it all, right? Like it's so it's so hard to explain. It's so hard to paint the picture because of the way we think of how our society works, that actually all business relies heavily on public infrastructure, from roads to courts or whatever. That could not exist.
And they're staying in UW dorms,
right?
Government paid for.
They
housing.
are really?
Yeah, I mean, Amazon is paying for it, but those were built with public money, and they exist only because of public money.
Yeah. So and
otherwise, they'd have to be paying for $1,800 single family or $1,800 single bedroom apartments in Seattle, which makes it less enticing to deliver 900 kids to the city.
So, but that, this puts that in high relief, I think. But it's not. It's this whole idea of them not paying taxes is
exactly.
It's just oh god, it's so frustrating. Everything they do is so fucking reliant on the collective infrastructure, whether that's just from the roads to courts to the actual fucking everything has actually been invented basically at universities and then given basically freely to business. So all technology,
let alone the technology they use for their business to run,
to build a store online.
To build to invent the Sears catalog for the digital age,
but online.
To become a cartel of billionaires who join forces together to pool enough capital to basically put other businesses to force other businesses out of the market and monopolize those markets. Yeah.
Also, I would like it to note that it was the the moon landing itself, the scientific advances of landing on the moon that made dash button technology available, where clicking a button puts a product in your cart. I mean, it's amazing, right?
Yeah.
Wow. So that's something to look forward to.
The future is yesterday.
Basically, yes. Shall we pivot?
You wanted to talk about Jenny.
We can talk about Jenny. All right.
Jenny, we got your number.
I think we should play some like good, bad, and the ugly music.
Spaghetti Western.
She needs some kind of theme, yeah.
Durkin has gone west, or in this case, slightly southeast, to the border. Where do you go when there's an ICE detention center literally in your city? Why
we're on like the same day, like Bob Ferguson and the governor were at the one. Also, there are people now, forming as of this morning, I think, like an Occupy camp outside the detention center in Tacoma.
Yeah, that's fucking awesome. Rad.
So that's awesome.
People have been
props
fighting
to
that.
Those people.
Yeah, people have been fighting that fucking center. I mean, since it was built. Like I remember when it was first built, organizing with people that I lived with to go down there and protest that shit. And it's just at least encouraging that fight
was under
continues.
that was what, in the last 6 months under the Trump administration, right? No?
No, not even.
No, it wasn't.
It was about 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That can't be.
I'm confused.
But this horrible shit has been going on forever in Seattle, and there have been a ton of people out there, trying to fight it every day. But I guess it isn't politically popular for politicians to make a stance against it until something truly beyond the pale happens.
Yeah, by people who are doing it like gleefully as well.
Yeah, completely. And so anyway, what we're talking about, of course, is that Durkin, in response to the zero tolerance Trump policy of
the separation
families,
children and everything, yeah.
And functioning in the spirit of Seattle's proximity law of politics.
Oh, we'll get to that. Yeah. Completely in line, following the laws of proximity politics. Went all the way to the border in Texas to make her displeasure known with, I don't know, like a few other governors and
or mayors.
A few other mayors.
Collection of mayors.
It was a collection of mayors. And for literally less than 24 hours, gave a press statement in front of the border and then packed up and left. And that was their photo op. And I wonder what you guys think. Like, I mean, I'm pretty cynical politically, so I just see it as like, this is a photo op. But I mean, it's also a horrible, horrible thing, and she should be outspoken against it. So I'm not against like it on principle, but I do feel a little bit like maybe it was done because it was very visible and it was a way to get headlines.
I guess, when we started this show, this is something I think we talked about with respect to the toll roads that were going to be enacted on city streets. Seattle has this penchant for trying to play World City, and we have for a while, and we always look outward to try to show to the rest of the world that, hey, we're a real city, we're very progressive, we're very liberal. And this just seemed like theater. Of course, the sentiment is absolutely right. We should abolish ICE. And
whoa, hang on. That was not her sentiment.
Well, that's not the sentiment, but that's mine. But
sure.
I mean, we should end these practices, obviously, first and foremost. I think that is consistent with any center left position. But we should abolish ICE. We should stop deporting almost everyone. But
except people who work for ICE.
Yeah,
ICE
except for
be deported.
Republicans, probably. But yeah, this was in the wake of the repeal of a really, honestly, a terrible week, I think, for Seattle with respect to our homelessness problem. Mm-hmm. And so for her to go out there and make this big show is just, it's kind of absurd because ICE is a problem here, like you just said, that we have a center in Tacoma, but we have a very serious problem, and they may not be children, but they're still people. And
there are a lot of
and there are
homeless
children. Yeah, there was like a 5-month-old child that was found in an encampment recently.
Here.
I mean, this is a serious problem, and it just felt ridiculous to me.
Weird parallel to the head tax thing, though, was that one of the major things they were pointing out against the detaining of immigrants at the border was that there's no place to house them. So they actually gave a press conference in front of tents because, I mean, that's the only way that ICE has. And it ultimately is an unsustainable policy because there's nowhere to put all these people they're rounding up. So it was must have been a weird week for Jenny to be in front of tents in Seattle and totally fuck that one up. And then have to take a flight all the way to Texas to then give another speech in front of tents, this time for a different segment of the population.
I think to criticize our politicians for, being good on one issue but bad on another, it's like we should be able to do multiple things at once. So I think in a way, maybe we have to kind of ultimately, as much as we may be like annoyed that they're so terrible here at home, and on this homelessness issue, like we maybe have to separate that and allow that, and say it is okay to, it's okay for a politician. It's good if a politician wants to actually like showboat and take credit for something that's good. I think that's politics, and that's what we want. I want a politician out there, shining light on any issue that I'm for. The real problem here is that Democrats, and it is good that this deeply insane and troubling and really a gleefully hateful policy from the White House is getting this huge pushback. This is good. And that it's bringing, every politician wants to get a piece of it. Great. Okay? All Democratic politicians, or lots of them, Jenny Durkin included, Bob Ferguson included, Jay Inslee included. That's fantastic. I think the problem then is that they're only coming out here, and this is the problem this is the thing. This is why I can't be for the Democratic Party. This is why I have these disagreements with, my Lib Dem friends. It's yes, when there's actual, literal, children in cages.
Yeah.
In concentration camps, when actual white nationalism is front and center, the actual policy of the federal government, then in a very loud and open way, then the Democrats come out and show their face. But the horrifying truth we have to acknowledge is that these policies are 85-90% the same as they were under Obama. Yeah. Obama deported more people than any administration in those 8 years, any administration in history, combined.
Yeah, I think more than the previous two combined.
Well, because because of ICE had just been created, and he had 8 years of ICE to do this work for him. So it's in context, yes. Well, yeah,
but they weren't out talking about it then. They didn't have the same. Right. This was a Democratic, supposedly liberal administration that was not able to confront this. The actual condemnation ultimately wasn't there, and so that's why I'm cynical about this shit. It's it's great that these people are getting out and condemning this, but where's it been?
It's because they have no ideology, and I guess that's what I was sort of trying to get to is about why it's so grating to see Durkin out there. It's only applied when it's opportune.
Yeah.
It doesn't reflect an ideology. This is the easiest thing to do, to come out against this, right? It actually takes nothing. If you're a normal person, this is reprehensible to you. I mean, it's the easiest thing you can do. So they're doing it because it's easy. Because they don't believe in anything.
Rather than having a firm, ideological, worldview.
Yes.
And then for 8 years as running the government.
Right, but
they never said that.
Specifically Durkin herself, though, right? We could, of course, blow this up to a large national issue. But, I never saw any Ferguson or Durkin, at least that I know of, ever make a statement before any of this or
No.
have a position on it.
No.
And then to all of a sudden take a plane and then fly down there as some sort of like, big message just seemed like a little bit out of nowhere. And listen, like if that's what it takes to get a conversation about ICE in SeaTac going, then I'm all for it. I'm not against any of that. But I am skeptical that like...
The question is, are they leading on these issues? Like, I think when I get into these arguments, I know you do too, where it's like our Lib Dem friends will go like, well, all these Democrats, Hillary and Obama and Durkin, they're for all these progressive things like LGBT rights, okay?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, they are now, but do you remember that Barack Obama ran for president, as did Hillary Clinton, against marriage equality.
Yeah.
And it's like, you have to understand, that was not that long ago. No. So they actually haven't led on that. We could go deeper into that, but it's not the point.
Yeah.
They haven't led on these issues. Once other people, grassroots movements have changed the American public's opinion on things, then the Democrats come in and are suddenly for them. And it's opportunistic.
Totally.
And even if they were for, literally this was the narrative in the Obama administration that, Obama was always for gay rights, but
he just couldn't campaign on
because that's not practical. And it's like, well, that's despicable. That's not something to like be proud of.
Yeah.
Like, but this idea that all you need to be satisfied with a politician is know in your heart that they feel the same things you do about an issue.
Yeah, right.
That's not fucking leadership.
No.
And it's opportunism, and it's fucking revolting.
It's absolutely revolting. And I just want to make one comment on that. I know that we're really sort of in the weeds in this discussion, but this is the Thomas Frank thing from Listen Liberal. These people, to your point, Greg, they're the manager class, and they are unable to face any risk. So that's why they can't lead.
Well, they think that's right.
They do think that's right. So they wait until it's the most politically expedient, and again, as I've just said earlier, easiest thing to do.
Easy.
Then they come out like they were the vanguard, and they
take credit.
Yeah. Yeah, they take credit for something that basically already happened.
Yeah, and was already in the mechanism was already moving for Trump to sign the order to stop zero tolerance.
Yeah.
So it didn't really, but of course it was well timed. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And good. And again, politicians going out, being visible, taking credit for good things, I am not against. But it needs to be all the good things.
Yeah.
or I'm not impressed.
Yeah, right.
Sure, that makes sense. And we touched upon this earlier, but this definitely is one of our favorite themes of Brett Hamil's sort of diagrams that he has been drawing lately, which is a graph basically showing how progressive Seattle is versus how far away that progressive issue is from Seattle. And again, this one is I would say like a full, probably like now I'm gonna get technical, but is a steeply descending line.
Alex is a data scientist, so feel free. That's what you bring to this podcast, Alex. So go into the weeds. I was
gonna say like a slope of about 7, a gradient of 7.
Okay,
so get out.
I don't know what that means, but I'm impressed.
And
rise over run, Greg. Overrun. But basically, this notion that when things are far away from our from affecting, let's put it this way, when things are literally far away from happening in Seattle, we love to condemn, we love to file lawsuits and get the process going and stop them. But when things are close to us, we need to have a civil discussion where all sides are heard and committees are formed and especially polls are taken.
And then once we've done all that, we need to fucking scrap it.
Yeah.
If we got the wrong answer, start again.
You can take the test over. It's open book, and it doesn't matter how many times you fail.
Yeah, but how many fucking people do you think Durkin consulted to take a fucking plane to Texas and make this decision? Probably probably 3 people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Whoever her staff is that runs all that stuff, maybe a couple of the other mayors, and it was decided, nope, we need to do this, right? This needs to get done. Regardless of all the bullshit that was going on here with the head tax, she made the executive decision, more or less, to do that.
Yeah.
But that's because there's no skin in the game for her, right?
It's easy.
Yeah.
It's easy, and that needs to happen here. Like, we need
That
liberal
leadership.
politicians to act on instinct here, because when you don't do that, you end up falling down these like hilarious, absurd processes. And one of my favorite things is, I don't know if you guys are following this sort of like the head of the Seattle Police Department choosing.
Oh yeah, the new police chief.
Police chief. That's what I was trying to think of. They listed. There was an article about how the process they went through to choose this person, and it's like literally consulting 50 interest groups, and then going through a voting process, and then a public thing, and it's like, my God, it will never get done if
and
this
also,
is the process that you follow.
What a process like that does is it. You know, the answer is the lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
obviously.
Whoever can stick around the longest. I got nothing to do. I can wait a year.
And who's the least offensive to the most number of groups?
Yeah.
And it's like the policing in this country and in this city, in liberal Seattle, is like an emergency situation that needs to like change fucking immediately. So that's not the leadership we need, you know?
Yeah,
Not at
leadership
all.
to me on this process isn't like a crazy long drawn out, multiple, hundreds of opinions consulted to make a decision. It should be obvious, right? Like,
Yeah, someone you need a chief who's gonna come in and work hand in hand with a mayor to fire a shitload of cops.
Yeah, and Durkin herself is, at least in words, for cleaning up the Seattle Police Department. Like,
Yeah.
she's
But
definitely.
again, that's the easiest thing to say. Like, let's see it, you know?
Well, it's the easiest thing to say, but she has a lot of opposition. I think that there are a lot of people who think that, no, we need to embolden cops to clean up the streets even more.
Which is insane in this town.
Which is insane,
I mean,
but it's literally the
forget
opinion
the rest
of
of
our
America,
paper.
just in Seattle. Like, I mean, I am a tall white man, so like, but so whatever. Take this with a grain of salt, but there is literally no square footage of Seattle that I would not feel safe walking through the middle of the fucking night.
Yeah, I think we have a remarkably safe city, really.
like really safe.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone that's traveled outside of Seattle and has been into a seedy neighborhood knows that it's completely different. But for whatever reason, it's just not obvious to people here, right?
Well, even in those, like everywhere in America, we need to abolish policing and completely rebuild our like safety services from the ground up with multiple like solutions to different problems that don't then like remove like anyone who's ever been a cop, basically. But in this, if that's not going to happen tomorrow here, our selection of a chief should include completely, at least, like rebuilding the SPD.
Yeah.
Under different
that would
rules.
Be nice.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it?
Think of all the stories like we've read over the years of all those cops in Seattle. I mean, we're under consent decree from the federal government, but like all those cops who have been like, whose names you can remember from like Cynthia Whitlatch is still a cop, right? Like there's still cops, Maybe she is. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she finally did get fired. But it was like years after like her.
Yeah, I think you were right about that. I think she did get fired, but I think you're right.
It was a long time
later.
And like there's so many I got, that's just always the name that comes to mind because it's one of the funniest. What a despicable person she is. But like God, it's just even in that was the funniest thing. I mean, this is I don't even remember what year the consent decree was, but like I feel like there was a big shock to people, like because we do have this, we feel like Seattle is this liberal progressive place, and then to find out that SPD is like barely any better than like the LA County Sheriff's Department, like that really like blew some people's minds.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, you got nothing to do, there's no crime, there's no real crime anymore, so what else are you gonna do?
You gotta make crime.
But anyway, I think just to round off the episode, I just want to reiterate that summertime in Seattle is a little bit of the agony and the ecstasy. And the ecstasy, of course, is the amazing weather and the fact that people in general come out of their houses. You see more people. You see more people of color, for sure, in your neighborhood because, most people aren't from Seattle. And so when it's shitty and cold outside, it doesn't make sense for them to go out. I'm accustomed to that. I love the shitty weather. I am out and about no matter what the temperature is. But summertime does have that effect on people, and I think it does bring people together.
More of the transplants come out. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And without their umbrellas.
Yeah.
That
is a dead giveaway, by the way. If you've got an umbrella, you're not from here, and we know, and we're judging you.
Yeah, we are. And it's because, I think everyone knows this by now, but it's because it rains all the time. It's like, when do you carry an umbrella with you? When it might rain. Well, it might rain fucking 8 months of the year. So you better just instead of carrying this giant piece of equipment,
you're going to have to wear it on your back like Yojimbo or something.
Yeah, yeah. You just have to, take other precautions. That's a good point. All the transplants kind of come out because they're like, oh, finally.
Yeah, but then on top of this, you just have to deal with more people in general and everything just sort of starting to suck a little bit more because it's just way overcrowded and there isn't the infrastructure to deal with it. And one thing that I thought was really funny, and I think, Colin, you can speak to the specifics on this, but I read there was some press release about Canlis, the super fancy restaurant in Seattle.
Our one really nice restaurant.
The only I would say really nice restaurant.
Isn't it the only one where you have to wear a jacket? Is that true?
Yeah, I think it's the only dress code in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are some of the clubs probably
but those are clubs.
Yeah.
But the only restaurant in Seattle where you need to wear a jacket, right? You gotta.
I've never been.
Make some semblance of civilization as they would see it. Makes sense there. But anyway, they decided to host, of all things, because, of course, Seattle's going this way, Shake Shack Day. So
naturally.
Wait, what?
So Shake Shack, if you're not familiar, is, I believe it started in New York, and it's just literally a shack that makes hamburgers and shakes.
Okay.
And
sounds like
Greg's favorite.
Like a lot of other things in America.
Sure. But this one was particularly beloved.
It was like
in
a
New
hip
York.
thing for a minute, like a fad. Okay,
no, it was always very popular in New York.
Okay, all right.
And I think mostly because it was cheap and fast, and they also, this is so Seattle, are you ready? So the one that I went to in Madison Park had a separate line for pets.
Oh,
so your dog could get a Shake Shack dessert, like an ice cream.
Wait, but could people order too? But it was people with pets?
No, it was pet only line.
So you had to, so if you wanted something for your if you wanted something for your pet,
when you wanted something,
you had to wait in both lines all the way through.
Probably only for a pet.
Yeah, but basically they had a separate line that you could access if you had a pet and wanted to order dog ice cream or some sort of dog treat. And it was hilarious, but I do see that actually.
It sounds like a Portlandia sketch.
Like in New York.
What the fuck are you even talking about? I just have what? Dog fucking ice cream? I mean, this is
a real
that
thing.
Is
by
a
the way.
huge.
Yeah, I was in line for Molly Moons.
That's
once,
a thing. Yeah,
and someone was like, "I'll have the dog flavor, blah blah blah," and I was like, "Wait, what is this person doing?" And then she literally ordered ice cream made for her dog.
Now, dog flavored ice cream I would eat.
Who are you, Obama?
Yeah, right. Okay, I'm so confused. I know this is really the kids these days, whatever. I don't know. I just don't. That's some weird bougie shit that I just can't get my head around.
Well, it is taking full root. So in New York, I think it was sort of tongue in cheek in New York because you didn't see that many people in line for dog ice cream, whatever, right?
But that makes sense for here in Seattle.
But in Seattle, the line will be longer.
That's a West Coast thing, dude.
People, because we have more people. It's basically the stand-in for a child because in Seattle it's too fucking expensive to have kids, and it actually makes more sense economically to have a cat or a dog. Yeah.
No, you could put up that yourself. Ironically in Seattle, I like dog ice cream, and you would have that would be your biggest selling thing. People are like, oh, I can treat my dog to some ice cream? Yeah. Well, this makes my day. Yeah, my dog deserves it.
Now I can stand in 2 different lines for ice cream.
Yeah, the people are already in a long enough line as it is.
Maybe this is everywhere. Maybe this just, but still now, I remember when Molly Moons first opened fuck before I left for LA.
Yeah,
right.
it was a
This
long,
is like almost
long
like
time
8
ago.
years ago,
Yeah,
right?
very long time ago.
Like, and just the lines around the block because it was our first like boutique ice cream shop, and like there are now 18 Molly Moons and 47 other boutique ice cream
they're
shops,
everywhere.
and still somehow they managed to have fucking lines out the door.
That's because they
Still,
take so goddamn long to serve you. You know, that's one of the. Everyone's got to taste all the
God,
flavors.
that drives me
and
insane.
it's like, you know what?
Who- okay, fuck you and your samples.
Yeah,
I have
fuck you.
never got a sample of anything
fuck
anywhere that wasn't sitting open free to grab.
Go off
now, if there's
King.
just a sample to grab, if there's a fucking sample just out to grab, I will fucking gravitate to that. I will go out of my way. I'll go to an aisle I don't even want to go down at Costco to grab a fucking free sample that's just fucking sitting there. But I have never asked for a sample. Take a fucking risk. Just order what fucking sounds good and go. Fuck. The idea of asking someone to give you a little like paper or wooden spoon
drives
scoop
me
of
nuts.
something is fucking insane.
Yeah.
If
You're a
just fucking
sociopath.
order it. Next time you'll know whether you like it or not. Next time, just order a fucking ice cream. Jesus.
Also, it's all good. It's all fucking sugar and milk.
yeah,
folks.
yeah. You're gonna get your sugar rush one way or the other.
It is good to get that. That's what we try to do. We try to get that cider Greg out, and because someone, you know, it feels good.
That's his
I'm
bod
glad.
that just came out.
That was amazing.
Yeah, my blood's up, guys. Like,
Here's there's some champagne left.
okay, yeah, I'm drinking it from the
you
bottle
might
now.
You earned it.
But so I saw this. I thought, oh, that's funny. You know what I mean? Like Canlis hosting the Shake Shack. I also had fond memories of Shake Shack, so I was like, oh, that, you know, I would do that. But then, you know, immediately.
Wait, did you actually live in New York for a couple of years?
Oh, not even that long, like 6 months.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. I knew it was a while, yeah.
Yeah. And so, like, you know how your brain works, where like you get a thought and then like it stimulates a neuron, which then my brain, which I think in most, you know, people that have dealt with this bullshit enough, it's like, oh, that looks like a good thing to do, and then immediately the other neurons in your brain is like, there's going to be like a million other people there, don't even bother doing it. So I didn't even check up on it or know anything. Colin, did you go, or did you?
So I did not go, but I had tentative plans to attend. So this whole sordid affair started a while back, where you could sign up, you could RSVP to go. Now,
RSVP for a milkshake?
Exactly. So when you hear,
This is Canlis.
but when you
Greg.
hear about
reservation required.
when you hear about an RSVP, you kind of think, well, okay, I have some guarantee, or I have a place online, or there will be some, as we love in Seattle, some process, right? So then about maybe a week later, there's this email that goes, hey, everybody on the RSVP list, the RSVP list doesn't mean anything at all. You're not guaranteed to anything. Oh, and by the way, there's no parking. So figure that out somehow. And immediately I responded to everyone that I was going to go with, and I said, we're not going. This is going to be a catastrophe. And so leading up to that, in this group text, we were just kind of arguing, and as I mentioned before, I have a young daughter, so I was just fighting like, we're not going,
Yeah,
we
how are you
can't
gonna
go,
do
like
that?
this is just not gonna work. And people were trying to drag us, and eventually one of those people went, and she ended up going at 11, which I think is when it opened. When she showed up, the line was already like 4 blocks long down 99.
Holy shit.
She didn't eat for 3 hours.
She stayed in line for 3
stayed in line.
hours?
3 hours later, they sent an email. Like, by the time she got to the front of the line, they sent another email to everybody on the RSVP that said, fuck off. If you're not in line, you're not getting a burger. And so,
What is it about people in this town that
they have to stay, like, and that's what I was saying. I was like, why would you want to do that? That's 3 hours.
there's so many fucking shakes and burgers in this town?
And you know what? They weren't even serving shakes.
Oh,
They
man.
only had burgers,
Whoa,
fries, and like.
whoa. It's called fucking Shake Shack.
Exactly. It doesn't even say burger in the name. Like, what
Maybe they're
is
trying
going
to
on?
pull an IHOB.
Okay, now wait a minute. Let's
Pivot
clarify
away from
something.
shakes and breakfast.
In their normal menu, does Canlis have a burger on the menu? Because that would be insane to me, but I at the same time wouldn't be surprised if they do.
I
Absolutely
don't
not.
know.
Okay,
Yeah, I don't know.
okay, good.
It's-
That restores some of my faith in my concept of humanity. Okay.
Prefix kind of menu.
Yeah,
sort of
great,
thing.
great. Okay. I hope to Christ there's no burger. If I go to Canlis one day and I'm like, man, I've finally made it. I'm like,
Well, by the
I throw
time
on the
you make
jacket
it,
they
Greg.
pull out of a closet to make me wear, and and I sit down at my table and I open a menu and it has like the Canlis burger. I'm gonna just the depression. You'll see it in my body just sink and go, oh my
Well,
God,
what you're
what's
gonna do
it all
is
for?
you're gonna by the time that this happens, right? I mean, things are changing, getting more casual every day in Seattle. By the time this happens, you're gonna get there. You're gonna look at the waiter and you're gonna say, "What do you recommend?" And he's gonna be like, "The Canlis burger."
Oh fuck. Okay, now hang on. I do. That is my strategy at many restaurants.
I've
not,
seen you employ that before.
Not to say what do you recommend, but I usually ask what's the best, and then there's usually at a place like Canlis, I think the wait staff would probably be ready to answer that. A lot of places they get confused for a minute and then go like because you want their opinion, and that's bizarre.
That's such a Seattle thing too. Yeah, like
But-
just being like, I don't, never thought about that.
Well, because nobody ever asked that. But that's how I, if I've never been someplace, that's usually what I'm asking. But I feel like at Canlis they would have a response to that.
Yeah, they'd
probably.
have some nuanced answer.
Yeah, which is great. That's what I'm looking. That's why I dream. Someday I will eat.
Well, I think that's their thing, that they will go
with
to
a
any
view
length
of Lake Union, high above, in the clouds. I will
Can sit at the John Wayne table.
Yeah,
There's a
table
John-
number 1.
Yeah.
It's got a phone.
It's got a
What
phone.
the fuck are you talking? What? Because John Wayne ate there one
Yeah.
time? Does it have his picture?
That was his favorite.
Or is that too
table.
techy?
I think it does have his picture.
Everybody, enjoy your Pride week, or I guess it's over now, but I hope you enjoyed your Pride week. And keep on keeping on. Stay cool out there. Hit us up on Twitter at Seattle Sucks Pod. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, or the Google has a podcast app now.
And we're on there.
And we're on it, so you
cool.
should check it out. It's pretty rad. Anyways, talk to you all later. See ya.
Right on.